This is Manhattan on a busy April day. As you can see, cars are everywhere.
Hello communications scholars, my name is Melinda Zosh. I sell BMWs for a living in upstate New York. Today, April 5th, I made a trip down to the International Auto Show in Manhattan. It's one of the largest gatherings of customers and automobile showcasings in the whole world. I will be learning more about the ever-changing vehicle technology, and this is information I hope to share with you throughout my presentation. To show you a 2006 X3. This is what I would consider to be a pretty basic vehicle because the technology for that time was not as far advanced as it is today. Let's take a look inside so I can show you what the vehicle looks like. So we're going to step inside. And I'd like to show you here that the setup is basic. I'm going to go ahead and start up the car so you can see it. Here is the radio system. It's, I'd say, not too far advanced because it's a basic setup here. You can see the time, you can see FM radio and switch through it, but there's no integration with any further technology such as iPod or satellite radio in this car. So this is a 2006. Now I'd like to show you a 2015 model. This is a BMW 428 all-wheel drive convertible. I'm going to demonstrate some technology from the outside of the car. So here with the push of the key fob, you can actually make the retractable hardtop go back into the trunk. It takes about 19 seconds to do this. So here the top is actually folding into the trunk. So this is just some technology from the outside of the car. Why don't we go ahead and step in so I can show you some more integration in the iDrive system and the technology here. Before I go in depth with the technology in the car, I would like to talk to you more about automotive telematics. I'm going to start with talking a little bit about why we should study automotive telematics. Well, first of all, technologies such as GPS systems are crucial when you're traveling in a place that's foreign to you. So if I'm traveling through Connecticut or Delaware or another state that's close by to New York, I'm going to need that navigation system to help me find my path without getting too lost. Also, car tracking devices can save lives. If a vehicle is equipped with navigation system, like this BMW is equipped with a navigation system, and this can actually help save someone's life by sending a tracking device back to our call center, which is located in Texas for BMWs. So this can actually help save lives if someone's lost or in a bad situation. Also, with the use of smartphones now, these apps can actually help unlock cars. We have an app called Remote Door Unlock, and when you use this app on your phone, it can unlock your car from the outside just using your phone, which is really convenient. And also with Bluetooth technology now on this BMW, it's located right on the steering wheel here. You can see I can answer the phone. Once my phone is connected to the system, I can answer an incoming call here or hang up the call here. So in most states, it's illegal to drive talking on the phone. Now with the phone integrated to the car, you can talk, and it's a lot safer this way. Now we're going to transition to the next slide. What is automotive telematics? It is defined as a blending of computers and wireless telecommunications technology. So it's a blending of both that's integrated into the car. Data and communication are key components here. So both go hand in hand to help that communication technology work effectively. We're going to move on to the next slide now for examples of telematics. It would include the global position system, a GPS, which is what I just mentioned previously. It also includes inter-vehicle Wi-Fi connections, so that would actually be Wi-Fi internet connectivity inside the vehicle itself. Wireless modules and car navigation systems are all included under examples of telematics. Going to transition to the next slide now. The history of telematics. Well, in 1886, the first car was born. It started with one man, and his name was Carl Friedrich Benz. So he created a small vehicle that could be operated with an engine, and that was the first car, so to speak. The history of cars actually dates back to the late 1700s, but this was the first vehicle that was actually put on the road. And we're going to transition to the next slide now. A man named Henry Ford, we've all heard of him. He is credited with the widespread vehicle production, including Model A and Model T vehicles. These were cars that were seen all over the roads in America in the early 1900s through the 1920s. So at this time, cars were just a means to get from point A to point B, nothing more. Just a means to get somewhere more quickly. But now they have evolved into so much more. As you saw in the 2006 BMW X3, it was a pretty basic system. This car, just 9 years later to 2015, it's loaded with technology that I'm going to show you throughout our video presentation. We're going to transition to the next slide. So development of in-vehicle telecommunications, entertainment, and infotainment are landmark in today's automotive environment. Basically, the consumer is demanding to have a navigation fully integrated in the car, to have radio here with satellite, XM, so that's something that's really popular now that the consumer wants to have when he or she is driving around. So the main concepts also include hands-free telephone calls and the screen-based navigation, which I'll show you here on the map. You can see I'm using this dial to change the navigation, and I can actually create a perspective view here in this navigation screen. So it's going to give me a 3D image. It's going to show me what's around me, such as gas stations and such. Now also, besides the navigation, we also have satellite radio, which I touched on, and it really comes down to the introduction of connectivity to the vehicle. So the driver wants to be connected, the passenger wants to be connected to the car when he or she is traveling to his destinations. Now it also includes seamless integration of mobility and the web. Let me touch on this quickly. This is the iDrive screen in the BMW, and I'm going to come over here to Connected Drive and BMW Online. This is going to give me a connection to the internet search engine that's included with the vehicle. So as this loads, I'll just talk about it briefly, but basically it gives you the ability to see news, weather, and things like that to keep you up to date. So here you can see today's weather, you can see news, online search, and things like that. So you really do have quite a few options when you are traveling. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide now. A car's first form of entertainment. The first breakthrough for any form of entertainment was the car radio system. Radios first appeared in cars in the 1920s, so cars had been around for a while before the first radio even appeared. And in the 1930s, FM radio was introduced in cars at that time. And then later on it was further developed. FM radio was developed and created in 1952 again, so it was revamped at that time. And it was formed at that time by a company called Blancpain, a pioneer in audio equipment and systems. So they were the first company to really integrate that FM radio into the cars. And FM AM radio was later introduced in 1953, so customers really had an option when they were driving around to have both radio systems there. We're going to move on to the next slide. Car radios continued. In 1965, the first 8-track tape players appeared in cars. We can't even imagine what these look like now, but back then it was an 8-track tape. That's what people were listening to in their cars. Finally, a couple years later, in 1970 and 1977, throughout that time, cassette tapes became another option. I remember listening to the boy bands, Britney Spears, on cassette tapes, but they have since disappeared and they're so hard to find. You basically have to go to an antique store to find cassette tapes now. By 1984, the first CD player was introduced in cars, so this is what we're seeing now from 1984 to the present. we have CD players in cars, and this was a major breakthrough for entertainment options in vehicles. We're going to move on to the next slide now. By 2002, we had DVD players that were introduced in cars. I'm going to show you something on this BMW. When I go to the main menu screen here, I'm going to go up to multimedia, and here I can see CD DVD option. So I can actually play a DVD here as long as the car is parked. It won't let me play it if I'm in drive, but if I have a passenger sitting next to me, we're waiting before we take off, we can sit here and watch a DVD from this screen, which is pretty interesting. And so that was in 2002. So at that time, audio was also turning to visual displays. The more and more videos that people were playing, they wanted to see them when they were traveling as well. So since 2002, with the invention of the DVD player in cars, technology has really come a long way. We now have features such as MP3 players, so I'm going to show you in this car where I would play that. So I'm going to come down here, and don't mind my change there, but you can actually plug in your iPod here or your smartphone into the auxiliary cord, and that would again come up in the multimedia option on this particular vehicle. We also have docks for smartphones. That was a pretty big feature with BMWs for a few years, and we're seeing them less and less now. People are just using their Apple cords or streaming Bluetooth music. The smartphone docks actually charge the phone a little bit more quickly than the Apple cord, and it gave it a better antenna connection if you were traveling through an area that did not have good connection capabilities, but we're seeing that it's less popular now as we're streaming more music. So since then, we've also seen the invention of satellite radio. Since the early 2000s, it's now become popular on cars. I'm going to show you on this car with the satellite radio function. I'm going to come down here, turning on the radio. So here are my station options for satellite. It's convenient because I can just quickly go through the stations, and you can search by genre here. So say I wanted to flash back to the 60s, I could come here and listen to some music. Okay. Turn that back down. Alright, so we also have Wi-Fi and voice activation technology. These are now common in new vehicles. I'm going to demonstrate some voice technology here. Navigation.
Navigation.
Enter address.